Heartwarming moment, boy, 6, discovers his hidden CEO mom at hospital. A life-changing reveal. Tommy's small hand gripped his favorite teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles, as he stepped into the bustling hospital. The sterile smell of antiseptic hit him, mixing with the hum of beeping machines and busy nurses. He darted down the long corridors, his heart pounding like a drum. It was just a visit for his grandmother, who had fallen ill. But for Tommy, this journey promised an adventure far beyond his wildest dreams. That he thought of his mother, Sarah, busy at home, baking cookies and reading stories. Little did Tommy know that she was not just a loving mom, she was a powerful CEO, a woman who made important decisions every day that changed lives. The thought sent a wave of excitement through him, but he also longed for their time together. As he pushed through the double doors of the hospital's waiting area, a shocking encounter awaited. A group of well-dressed adults was huddled around a table. Tommy's curious eyes widened when he realized this was a meeting of big-time executives. And at the head of that table, his mother, effortlessly commanding respect like a superhero. Standing there, she radiated confidence, her hair pulled back neatly, her voice calm and persuasive. His heart dropped. How could she keep this from him? Did she not want to share this incredible side of herself? Anguish rolled in his chest, and suddenly, the hospital felt colder. Why wasn't he enough? He whispered to Mr. Snuggles, his loyalty toy catching every tear that escaped his eyes. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed in the hospital, and Tommy roamed its halls, inhaling the scent of hope and fear. Here, he saw nurses smiling at patients despite the sadness surrounding them. Doctors worked tirelessly, discussing complex plans that flowed over the air like challenging puzzles. Their voices echoed in the corridors, and with each snippet of conversation, Tommy glimpsed the enormity of his mother's world, the pressure she faced, the lives she touched. Slowly, admiration began to flicker in his heart, yet, the brewing storm of emotions remained. Each day, he felt both proud and lonely. The admiration grew, fighting against his initial confusion, trying to fill the void her absence created, an absence woven from ambition and duty. He wondered, would she still have time for him after this? He didn't want to be just a part of her life, he wanted to be at the center of it. As he wandered away from the meeting room that day, looking for the exit, he halted. He looked back. The room was filled with laughter and discussions of dreams. Maybe, just maybe, his mother was not abandoning him but rather building a future for them. The thought both comforted and terrified him. This realization rippled through him like a powerful current. Could they bridge this gap between ambitions and family ties? Did he have the strength to embrace her with open arms instead of questioning her? The whisper of hope tingled in the air as he tightened his grip on Mr. Snuggles. The hospital doors closed behind him, and in that moment, his heart raced with the unresolved question: could he reconcile his love for her with the shadow of her greatness? Only time would tell. Tommy stood at the bustling entrance of the hospital, the weight of his discoveries heavy on his small shoulders. The bright lights and busy buzz around him felt overwhelming as he looked up at Mr. Snuggles, seeking comfort. It was a new world he found himself in, one that contrasted deeply with the warm, cozy corners of home, the place where cookie dough covered the counters and bedtime stories filled the air with enchantment. As he wandered through the hospital, a thought nagged at him: what if I could help her? He imagined himself wearing a suit, striding confidently alongside his mother. The vision brought a small smile to his lips, but the thought faded. He was just a little boy, wasn't he? A boy who played with toys and made up stories in his head. Suddenly, he heard laughter echoing from down the hall. Curiosity piqued, he followed the sound, peeking into a large room filled with kids his age. They were painting, giggling, and creating art under the watchful eyes of cheerful volunteers. The room was vibrant, filled with clashing colors that danced like joy itself. At that moment, Tommy felt a tug of emotion, a spark ignited inside him. "Can I join?" he asked timidly, clutching Mr. Snuggles closer. Glancing back toward the meeting room where his mother sat, he saw sincerity reflected in the eyes of a volunteer. "Of course. We'd love to have you." She smiled brightly, her kindness wrapping around him like a warm blanket. As he stepped inside, letting go of his worries for a moment, Tommy forgot about the pressures of his mother's world. Under the flicker of bright lights and the explosion of color, he lost himself in the joy of creation, painting bright purple swirls and splashes of sunshine yellow. With each stroke, he felt lighter, as if the burdens of expectation were washed away, if only for a little while. Time slipped away unnoticed, and when he looked up, he felt a sense of accomplishment sparkle within him. The canvas transformed into a radiant mural of laughter, something he was proud to share, something that represented a bridge between his world and his mother's. As he stepped back, admiring his work, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. There stood Sarah, looking both tired and relieved to see him. The moment their eyes met, it struck Tommy like lightning. She seemed just as vulnerable as he felt. Maybe, he realized, she too carried burdens he hadn't seen. "Tommy," she called, her voice wrapping around him with the warmth of home. He rushed towards her, an amalgamation of feelings swirling within. The pride, the confusion, the love that pushed him forward surged. "Look what I made!" he exclaimed, pointing to his canvas, eyes shining with excitement. Sarah knelt down, a soft smile playing at her lips. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." He glanced toward her, about to burst with 1,000 questions. The bridge between their worlds felt delicate but stronger than before. Could they really meet in the middle? A heartwarming possibility lingered in the air. "What is it like to be a CEO?" he blurted out, curiosity bursting forth. Sarah's eyes widened slightly, both surprised and thoughtful. Just then, the fabric of their lives began to unravel before them, revealing secrets, dreams, and the potential for understanding that could change everything. Would this be a moment that brought them closer together, or would it unveil even deeper misunderstandings? He could hardly wait for the answer. Sarah took a breath, the kind that would fill the lungs and speak volumes without saying a word. Looking into Tommy's eager eyes, she felt a swell of emotions: pride, love, and a hint of fear. Being a CEO was more than just a title, it was a world of responsibility and choices that weighed on her shoulders every day. "Well," she started, hesitant but feeling the warmth of his excitement pull her in. "Being a CEO means you have to make decisions that can help a lot of people. Some days, it feels pretty amazing, like when everything goes right. But other times it's hard. Really hard." Tommy listened closely, his gaze fixed on her as if she were wielding magic. He furrowed his brow, processing her words. "Is it scary?" Sarah's heart ached at that question. Yes, it was frightening to wake every day and face challenges that seemed insurmountable, to juggle a family and a job that sometimes made her feel distant from everything she loved. "Sometimes, sweetie. I guess we all have fears. But what matters is trying to do our best anyway. I want to help make things better," he said earnestly, his voice tinged with determination. "Like your job, right?" Her smile widened, feeling a mixture of admiration and tenderness wash over her. "You already do help, Tommy. You don't have to wear a suit to make an impact. Your painting, it brings joy. That matters." She knelt even closer, cupping his little face in her hands. Their worlds may seem vastly different, but she realized they shared a common thread, a desire to make the world a bit brighter. "You know, whether I'm in a boardroom or here with you, my heart is always with my family. You and your brother are my top priority." An unexpected warmth surged through Tommy's chest. He felt connected to her in a way he hadn't before, a bridging of understanding that made the hospital's harsh lights feel a little softer. "Will you tell me more about it someday?" he asked, a hint of promise in his voice. Of course, she replied, her heart swelling with hope. They shared a gaze filled with potential, a silent agreement that slowly began to mend the invisible threads that connected them. Just then, a loud burst of laughter echoed from the painting room, jolting them back to reality. Tommy's enthusiasm bubbled over. Can we join them? I want to paint, too. Sarah chuckled softly, absolutely. Let us add some more color to your mural. She stood, taking his small hand in hers, and together they stepped into the vibrant space full of laughter and creativity. With each brushstroke, Tommy felt lighter. The colors swirling on the canvas represented not just a cheerful moment but the first steps towards something deeper. He turned back and looked up at Sarah, who was bent over the canvas, her hair cascading like a waterfall. She was so invested, her hands moving swiftly, that he felt the admiration blooming within him once again, but just as joy filled the air, a shadow passed over Sarah's face. Briefly, she stared into the distance, her smile faltering. Tommy could sense something shift in her, a nagging concern that pulled her from the moment. Mom? He asked, confusion brewing in him. What's wrong? His innocent words made her heart race. Was there something he needed to know? Something she hadn't shared yet? The mural became a flurry of color but also a canvas for deeper emotions, and the question hung between them like a fragile thread. What was Sarah hiding that could alter their blossoming connection? Tommy felt the weight of anticipation pressing close, unsure of what awaited them. What revelations would come next? Would they be ready to embrace the truth? As they painted over the white canvases, each color layered with dreams and hopes, they both felt the undercurrents of life ready to change. Little did they know that the next stroke of their journey would reveal secrets bigger than they dared to imagine. The laughter in the painting room seemed to grow louder, intertwining with the colors splashed across the canvas, but Sarah's heart was heavy. Tommy noticed the way her brush faltered, how her smile faded as she stared into space, and despite the lively atmosphere around them, uneasy silence encircled their bond. Mom, is it about work? Tommy's small voice pierced through her thoughts, innocent yet probing. She snapped back to reality, redirecting her gaze to him, grateful for his concern but apprehensive about the truth hidden beneath her surface. It's just, a lot to think about, buddy, she replied, her voice dropping to a whisper, as if saying it too loudly might make it real. Tommy tilted his head, eyes wide. You always tell me that talking helps. Isn't that what you do at work? His words hit her like a soft blow. The wisdom of his youth reminded her of all the moments she had shared with her own father, time spent discussing hopes and fears at the kitchen table. You're right, she conceded, the weight in her chest shifting just a bit. Maybe it would help to share. Gathering her thoughts like scattered brushstrokes, she took a deep breath. You see, Tommy, being a CEO means making choices that affect lots of people, and right now things aren't going the way I'd hoped. What do you mean? His face reflected genuine concern, inviting her to lay bare her feelings. Sarah glanced around the bright room, watching as other kids created their masterpieces. Colors blended and collided in celebration of creativity, each stroke an escape, and in that moment, she understood, she had to be brave in the same way they were. There are challenges at work that are, well, making it hard to keep everyone happy. I sometimes worry that I'm not doing enough, and that affects us all. Is that why you look sad sometimes? Tommy asked, his brows knitting together. Sometimes, yes, she admitted, swallowing a lump in her throat. I want to give it my all at work while still being the mom you need. Mom, do you think I can help? There it was, the eager determination radiating from him again. That a wave of tears threatened to spill from her eyes, grateful for his unwavering support. Just being my Tommy helps more than you know. Your smile, your laughter, they remind me of what's important. He paused, contemplative, then said, then let us paint something big and awesome. You can make the hard stuff better, like you always say. She really couldn't help but smile at his bubbly spirit. It sparked something within her, a flicker of hope. This little artist in front of her had given her workspace a whole new vibrancy. As they began to paint again, splashing colors freely, she felt the burden on her heart lighten. With each bold stroke, they infused passion and joy into their creation. But just when everything felt right again, Sarah received a message on her phone. The urgency in its tone sent a jolt through her. The board meeting was rescheduled, and the disquieting weight pressed back down a deadline she couldn't ignore. "Mom?" Tommy asked, noticing her demeanor shift again. "What is it?" Sarah looked at her son, and her heart sank. How could she explain this to him? "It's just something about my job. I have to take care of it. Can't it wait?" he asked, seeming puzzled that it tugged at Sarah's heartstrings, knowing the truth wouldn't wait. If she hoped to embrace the love of family fully, she needed to balance the two worlds she straddled. As they continued painting, a small part of her thought of the secrets she must soon divulge, the impact it would have on Tommy, on their relationship. The moment of truth hovered just ahead, and she had little choice but to confront it. What awaited them next? Would they be ready to face the challenges that lurked beyond this vibrant, colorful world they were creating together? The energy in the painting room shifted as Sarah's phone buzzed again, drawing her gaze to the screen. The stark words of her impending meeting echoed in her mind. Each syllable gnawed at her, an unwelcome reminder that her life was segmented into duties and obligations, often overshadowing her role as a mother. "Mom?" Tommy prodded, his voice colored with concern. "Are you okay?" Sarah forced a smile, but it felt flimsy and inadequate. She didn't want her son to bear her burdens, to know that work was more than just a job. It was an unending labyrinth of expectations and pressures. But deep down, she knew the truth had a way of weaving itself into family life, no matter how she tried to shield him. "I will be in a minute," she said, her voice shaky as she gestured toward their art project. "Let us finish this first. What do you think we should add next?" Tommy examined the canvas. "How about more bright colors? Like a rainbow? Everyone loves rainbows." His enthusiasm was infectious, and as Sarah dipped her brush into vibrant orange, she felt the weight lessen, if only for a moment. With the roar of laughter and chatter around them, they painted together. Each stroke seemed to rejuvenate her spirit. The colors blended into a riot of hues, channeling the carefree joy of childhood. But the urgency of the message held her thoughts captive. "Mom, can I add some purple here?" Tommy asked, reaching for the paint. "Yes. That's perfect," she replied, determined to be more present, if only temporarily. Time slipped by, stretched like the colors on the canvas. But the ominous meeting loomed, now just an hour away. Each passing minute felt like a countdown, tightening a knot in her stomach. What could she tell him? What would she have to sacrifice if they didn't secure the next funding phase? Just then, a familiar voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. "Hey, Sarah." It was Lisa, her close friend and fellow parent from the school. "Join us for lunch?" "You should go," Tommy chimed in, his eyes sparkling. "You haven't seen Lisa in a while." "I'll just be a few minutes, okay?" she said to him, hoping to mask the urgency in her voice. "Let us clean up a bit first." As they tidied their workspace, Sarah's fingers brushed against a palette that Tommy had abandoned. The colors stuttered together, running into one another, but it mirrored her own feelings. Life was messy. There were intersections where motherhood met professionalism, where personal dreams collided with workplace challenges. Would their rainbow creation even seem relevant when the stark realities of her job loomed ahead? "Mom, we made something amazing today," Tommy exclaimed, the enthusiasm breaking through any lingering tension in the air. His words settled in her heart like a soothing balm. Maybe they could face whatever was coming, but there was still the fear of the unknown that tugged at her. As Tommy began packing up their brushes, she knew she had to tell him. It was time he learned about her world. It was important for him to see her not just as his mom, but as a person who faced challenges too. "Tommy," she started, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, Mom." He turned, his small hands resting on the canvas, brimming with pride that in that moment, she realized that if they were going to ride the waves of uncertainty together, it needed to start here and now. There was no backing away from this crucial conversation. I need to talk to you about something important, but her phone buzzed once more, the screen illuminating a name that sent tremors through her. She took a breath, wondering if now was really the time. What would happen when she bared her truths? Could they navigate this storm together, or would her revelations unravel the bright colors of life they had just created? The moment was ripe for discovery, but the questions hung in the air like unspoken promises. Would this next step change everything? The buzz of the phone felt like a mosquito in the summer, irritating yet unavoidable. Sarah glanced at the screen again, the name glaring back at her like a banner announcing an impending storm. Her heart raced as she processed the consequences that could unfold from whatever conversation awaited her. "Mom, are you okay?" Tommy lifted his gaze from the colorful canvas they'd just created and looked at her with those wide, innocent eyes that always cut through her veils of worry. His concern was almost palpable, and it made her heart ache. Taking a deep breath, she plastered on her smile again, though this time it felt more genuine. "Yes, honey. Just deciding on lunch," she said lightly, wishing she could convince herself as easily. Tommy giggled. "Can we get pizza? With extra cheese?" "Pizza sounds great," she said, feeling a small amount of warmth seep back into the room. The afternoon light streamed through the window, casting playful shadows like children's laughter across the paint-splattered table. "Okay, let us finish cleaning, and then we can go," Tommy urged, eager to move on, unaware of the weight of her hidden thoughts. Sarah pulled herself back into the moment, exchanging the heavy burden looming over her for the lightness of a child's delight. They cleaned in sync, the clattering of brushes and the swiping of paper towels punctuated by Tommy's excited chatter about his friends at school. With each shared laugh, the constricting feeling in her chest eased, just a bit. But as soon as their artwork lay neatly stacked to dry and the remnants of paint were wiped away, Sarah knew she couldn't delay any longer. She felt it bubbling to the surface, the need to share her truths with him, to embrace vulnerability. "Tommy," she began again, moving to sit beside him on the stool. "There is something I need to talk to you about." He met her gaze, his brow furrowing slightly, as he sensed the seriousness creep into her voice. "Is it about your meeting?" She nodded, surprised he remembered. "Yes, it might be." "What a meeting?" Tommy asked, innocence shining in his eyes. He didn't grasp the stakes, and for a moment, Sarah found herself wishing she could keep it that way. "It's where I go to talk with other grown-ups about my job," she explained, the words tumbling out. "Sometimes it's hard because I have to make decisions. Decisions that can be really important." In the depths of her heart, she feared his reaction. It was one thing to work tirelessly for a better future, it was another to reveal the depths of her struggle to her child. Would he understand? Or would he feel burdened by her realities? "That sounds awful," Tommy said, tilting his head, confused. She chuckled lightly, momentarily relieved by his honesty. "Well, it can be. But it's also how I provide for you. And it's because I love you. I want you to see that everyone has things they struggle with, even mommies." He considered her words, his small hands balling into fists as if scrambling to absorb the weight of it all. "Will you still be my mom after your meeting?" "Of course," she answered, her voice trembling slightly. "No matter what happens at work. But sometimes, I might not be able to be here as much as I want to. And I might have to tell you about things that are tough for me." Tommy took a moment, digesting that thought. "Like the stuff when you almost cry?" "Yes, sweetie," she responded, feeling tears prick at her eyes. "Exactly like that. But you have to tell me when that happens, okay?" He leaned closer, a resolute look on his face. "We can do it together." It was a simple promise, yet it filled her heart with a warmth that momentarily eclipsed her worries. Just then, her phone buzzed again, pulling her abruptly back to reality. As she peered at the screen, uncertainty flooded in. The message could alter everything they had just shared. Mom. Tommy tugged at her sleeve, breaking the tension in the air. Pizza. Uncertainty mixed with determination swirled in her mind. Yes, let us go get that pizza. As they stepped outside, hand in hand, she couldn't help but wonder, would this be the lull before the storm, or had she just opened a door to understanding that might change everything? The chime of the bell from the pizza shop echoed in her ears as she contemplated what came next. Would the truth she carried lighten their load or cast a shadow over their world? The warm air greeted them as they stepped outside. In that instant, the worries of the world felt momentarily at bay. Tommy bounced ahead, his excitement palpable as he pointed at the sky. Look, Mom. That cloud looks like a dinosaur. His innocent laughter rang out, a sweet melody in the midst of her swirling thoughts. Sarah paused for a moment, allowing herself to look up. Sure enough, a fluffy cumulus cloud formed a vague shape that might resemble a brontosaurus. She chuckled softly and followed him, his joy a refreshing splash of color against the gray tapestry of her concerns. They entered the pizza shop, and a wave of familiar smells welcomed them: melting cheese, tangy sauce, and the unmistakable scent of buttery garlic knots. Tommy's eyes widened as he spotted the display case of mouth-watering pies. Can we get that one? He asked, pointing to a massive pepperoni pizza that looked like it had just emerged from a savory dream. Sarah nodded, her heart swell with affection. Watching his little face light up shifted something inside her. It was a reminder of why she poured herself into her job. Why she fought hard under the weight of her responsibilities. It was about them, about building a future for this extraordinary child who deserved every chance at happiness. While they waited for the pizza, Tommy engaged in battle with his own slice of doughy bread. Mom, can I tell you a secret? He whispered, leaning across the table as if sharing state secrets. Absolutely. She leaned in, curious and more connected to him than ever. I think you can tell me anything, even if it's hard, he said, his little eyes serious now. You're my mom, and I love you no matter what. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes again. Oh, sweetie, she whispered, the gravity of his words wrapping around her heart like a warm hug. That means so much to me. They took a big slice of pizza, the greasy goodness almost too much to resist. She watched him devour the slice as if it were a prize. Laughter bubbled up between them, breaking through her earlier tension. Moments like these were sunny treasures, shading the deeper worries hidden in the corners of their lives. As the last bite disappeared, Tommy looked up with a hint of concern flickering at the edges of his lips. Mom, will we be okay? You know, after your meeting and everything. She hesitated. The wave of uncertainty rolled in again, crashing down on her composed facade. Tommy, sometimes life gets hard, but that doesn't mean we're not okay. We will always have each other. That's what matters most. Promise? He asked, his voice small but sincere. Promise. She took his little hand, squeezing it with all the love she could muster. Just as they settled into a moment of warmth, Sarah's phone buzzed again in her pocket. Her heart sank. She could feel something shifting in the world around her, an echo of a storm brewing, threatening to crash into their peace. Mom. Tommy's voice broke into her thoughts, his enthusiasm returning. Can we play a game on the way home? Like I Spy or something? Sure, let us do it. She replied quickly, grateful for the distraction. But as they walked back to the car, her phone buzzed again, each vibration serving as a reminder of the weight she still carried. She kept her gaze focused on Tommy, his laughter floating in the air like a lifeline, yet deep inside, a storm began to brew. She couldn't dodge it forever. What awaited her after the meeting couldn't stay in the background for long. The sun began to set, casting golden hues across the street, and Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. What would she reveal to her little boy when the time came? In that moment of reflection, she knew the time would come for tough conversations. But more importantly, she could feel something shifting again, a new kind of hope whispering through her heart. What awaited at that meeting? Would it bring them closer or drive a wedge between their world of shared laughter and a bittersweet reality? The car ride home was filled with the familiar sounds of Tommy's laughter and the hum of the engine. He insisted on taking the lead in their game of I Spy, his little finger pointing excitedly at the blurred scenery whipping by outside. Each of his guesses was woven with the liveliness of a child whose world was limitless, just as it should be at his age. Sarah watched him through the rearview mirror, her heart swelling with love and an insistent ache of anxiety. "Okay, I spy something green," he declared, eyes shining. "Is it the trees?" she ventured, glancing out at the sun-dappled leaves lining the road. "Yes," he shouted, thrilled. "Now your turn." She took a breath, reflecting on the weight of the meeting looming ahead. "I spy something silver." "Is it your car?" he asked, giggling. "Genius." She smiled, but the joy felt tinged with the fear still gripping at her heart. She quickly reminded herself of their promise, the bond they shared, anchored in love and understanding. As they drove through their neighborhood, familiar sights passed by the bakery where they often picked up sweet treats, the playground where he played with friends. Everything felt warm and inviting, a comforting blanket around their little universe. Yet, with every familiar street, the dread of uncertainty loomed closer. When they arrived home, the last rays of sunlight kissed the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. She could hear the evening bustle of the neighborhood, the sound of children playing, laughter echoing around them, all while her heartbeat quickened at the thought of the meeting ahead. "Can we go to the park after dinner?" Tommy asked, seeming to sense that something was off with her. "Of course, buddy," she replied, feigning lighter spirits. "Just let me handle a few things first." As they settled in for dinner, she watched him munching on spaghetti, his concentration adorably fixed on a movie playing in the background. For a moment, that simple image made everything feel right. Yet just beneath the surface, she could feel her anxiety pulling at her. It was strange how completely he could encourage her spirit while simultaneously tightening the knots in her stomach. "Hey, Mom." Tommy's voice was small yet curious, breaking through her thoughts. "Yeah." She responded, curious what the serious tone in his voice might hold. "What do you think will happen at your meeting?" Caught off guard, the question weighed heavily in the air. "It's, just work stuff," she said, trying to pass it off lightly. "It's boring adult business." "Boring like taxes?" he asked, scrunching his nose. "Exactly," she chuckled, grateful for his innocence. But the smile faded as the thought climbed back into her mind: would she lose her job? How could they make ends meet? How could she share all this with him without shattering that little spark of joy? After dinner, as Tommy bounced around the living room, she could feel the pressure building inside her. A wave of exhaustion washed over her, each wave crashing further onto her shore of uncertainty. "Hey, let's take a quick walk before bed," she offered, needing a breath of fresh air and a moment to clear her thoughts. Outside, the night air was a stark contrast to the warmth of home. A few stars peeked through the gathering clouds, reminding her of the wishful thinking that sometimes hung in her heart. They strolled hand in hand, Tommy skipping forward, stopping every few steps to point at a firefly darting through the shadows. "Do you see that?" he exclaimed, eyes sparkling. "It looks magical." "Just like you," she said, ruffling his hair. But even as she smiled, the echo of that meeting loomed like a distant storm, ready to burst. What would she say if the news was bad? How could she maintain that magic for him if everything shook? Just then, Tommy turned to her, his eyes wide and earnest. "Mom, promise we'll be okay no matter what?" The question hung in the air, thick with weight. She paused, heart skipping a beat. I promise, Tommy. But sometimes we might need to find new magic when things get tough." But with those words, she felt the shadows of uncertainty creep in deeper. As the first drops of rain began to fall, they hurried back toward home, the sound echoing against the pavement. Inside, as they dried off, Sarah's phone buzzed once more. Glancing at it, she felt a rush of dread wash over her. The meeting was less than an hour away. With a mixture of fear and hope, she looked down at her son, the future suddenly feeling friendlier than before. What awaited her beyond those doors? Would courage and love be enough to face the storm brewing within? Sarah stood in the kitchen, her heart pounding as she hugged Tommy close for a moment. The sweet scent of spaghetti sauce still lingered, a small comfort in a world that felt increasingly out of control. She glanced at the clock. Time was slipping through her fingers like sand. "Mom, can we go play in the rain?" Tommy asked, his innocent plea pulling her back to his bright, hopeful gaze. "Rain?" She forced a smile, trying to shake off the fear. "It's a little chilly, don't you think?" "It's just a little rain. We can splash in puddles. Please." His enthusiasm was contagious, and she found herself fighting the urge to say yes. The sound of his laughter felt like it could drown out the anxiety curling around her heart. Okay, just for a minute, she finally relented, knowing she needed this moment of joy with him too. By the front door, Sarah slipped on her jacket, grabbing an umbrella while Tommy bounded to grab his rain boots, his little feet pattering excitedly across the floor. The energy radiating off him was like sunlight breaking through dark clouds, reminding her of what was truly important. They stepped outside and into the cool, refreshing rain. The world was transformed, colors seemed to pop under the heavy droplets. As Tommy splashed in the nearest puddle, water spraying up like a joyful fountain, Sarah couldn't help but giggle. "Mom, look at me!" he shouted, jumping higher, his laughter mingling with the sound of the rain. In that moment, the worry slipped away. She joined him, the two of them dancing in the rain like children, periodical bursts of laughter punctuating the downpour. For a fleeting moment, it felt as if nothing else mattered beyond those joyful seconds. No job uncertainty, no looming meeting, just them and the pure happiness of being alive. But as they sank into this moment, Sarah's heart would inevitably turn. Would this be the last chance for moments like this? Could she keep their life stable enough to allow for these breaks of joy? "Tommy, we should head in soon," she called out, her voice drowning in the patter of rain. "Just one more jump, Mom." He insisted, and he leaped high again, sending droplets everywhere. Okay. Just one more jump." She relented, smiling as she joined in. And as they jumped together, she felt a renewed lightness in her heart. But there lingered an unsettling question: what if this was their last carefree splash? When they finally retreated inside, both soaked but giddy, the warmth of the living room enveloped them. Sarah handed Tommy a towel and watched as he danced wildly, the water from his hair flinging in all directions. "What time is your meeting?" he asked, suddenly serious again, the brightness dimming slightly. "Soon," she replied, feeling her stomach twist. "Not too long now." He paused, looking at her. "Will you be okay? Like, really okay?" She knelt in front of him, placing a hand on his cheek, nurturing a sense of comfort she desperately wanted to convey. "I promise, buddy. No matter what happens, we'll figure things out together." "Together," he echoed, sealing the promise between them. As she stood to leave the room, her phone buzzed again, and she held her breath. She had almost forgotten about that impending storm, yet with each vibration, her anxiety rose. She picked it up, heart racing, and read the brief message: "Meeting postponed. New time at 8 p.m. Relief washed over her, mixed with confusion. Why had it changed? Did this mean it was something more serious? She glanced back at Tommy, blissfully unaware of her inner turmoil as he built a tower with his blocks. That moment of joy they shared was a reminder of what was at stake. But what did the new time mean for their future? As the clock ticked towards 8, her heart began to race again. In the silence, doubts crept back in. What had she really signed up for? Suddenly, the fading light outside reflected her own doubts. The day had felt like a roller coaster, but the night was still young. What awaited her when she stepped into that meeting now? Would everything be different when the sun set again? As the clock struck 8, the echoes of laughter faded into a distant memory. Tommy was tucked safely in bed, his peaceful face a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside Sarah's chest. The room felt heavy, each second ticking away like a countdown to an unknown fate. She stood at the doorway, peering into the softly lit room that held everything she cherished. The art they created together. The laughter they shared. Each moment had woven a thread of connection, promises made, yet her heart beat loudly in her ears, drowning the silent hope scratching at her mind. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped towards the living room, her heart racing and her phone vibrating with messages she hesitated to read. "You're strong. You can handle this," she whispered to herself, willing bravery to fill her. But the truth bleared beneath the surface. Doubt crept in like shadows, and her fears lingered just out of sight. Sitting down, she grabbed her phone and squinted at the new message. Meeting agenda, budget cut discussions. Each word felt like a weight. The implications thundered in her mind. Would they be forced to make layoffs? What would that mean for her? For Tommy? The stakes felt unbearably high, the burden heavier than ever. But within that vein of fear, hope flickered. She thought of Tommy, the way he had laughed in the rain. The innocent wisdom he wielded. Maybe this meeting was a chance to speak up, offer solutions, bridge the gap between the boardroom and the heartfelt family life she cherished. With newfound determination, she set her jaw and stood tall. "It's time to face it," she murmured. Clutching her phone like a lifeline, she paced the room. Rising above her fears, she would navigate this challenge the same way she had watched Tommy embrace his creativity, wholeheartedly free from doubt. As she prepared her notes, thoughts of their earlier conversation returned to her. Everyone struggles, even Mommy's. Suddenly, she felt a rush of clarity. This wasn't just about her. This meeting was an opportunity to open the doors and share her perspective, not just as a CEO but as a mom passionate about making impact, balancing dreams and responsibilities. Time slipped by, and before she knew it, it was nearly time to dial in. She took one last glance toward Tommy's room, ensuring he was still asleep, and then squared her shoulders. "You can do this," she repeated like a mantra, grounding herself as she clicked to join the call. Voices filled the air, each executive's tone grave yet direct. Meeting agenda flew past briefly, but as she spoke up, her voice trembled at first, but she found her strength. "What if we find innovative ways to engage our community to buffer the impacts we're facing?" she suggested, urging her colleagues to see the bigger picture, weaving in family values and community needs. There were murmurs on the line, some doubtful, others thoughtful. She pressed on, fueled by her deep love for her children and the drive to inspire. As passion charged her words, she painted a picture of unity and purpose, capturing the essence of their goals and how they could still thrive. Slowly, the atmosphere shifted. Heads began nodding. The trepidation in her heart started to ease, replaced with a warmth radiating from the connections being formed. They began brainstorming, diving into solutions instead of dwelling on problems. Minutes turned into an hour, each suggestion better than the last, each word a step toward clarity, resolve. When it ended, the atmosphere shifted into one of collaboration, not division. For the first time, Sarah felt in control, feeling the echo of her children's laughter accordion within her heart. With a deep breath, she leaned back, a smile breaking across her face. She shared her truth, lifted up by the support of her colleagues. As she logged off the call, she couldn't shake the glowing feeling within her. Sarah tiptoed back to Tommy's room, cautiously leaning over him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Mommy can be strong, too," she whispered softly, brushing tenderly against his bed. "Just like you." In that moment, she understood sometimes, the hardest conversations lead to the most beautiful transformations. Life would always throw challenges, but they weren't meant to separate them, they were meant to draw them closer. Tomorrow, she would take him to the park. They would paint together, splash in puddles, reconcile the colors of their lives. Together. Hand in hand, they would say, "It's okay to embrace the storms." As she shut the door quietly, she felt lighter than she had in days. Hope flickered anew. She could be both CEO and mom, a bridge between the two worlds. And with that thought, she felt ready to face anything, as long as they faced it together. So, if you're feeling inspired by this story of hope and connection, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories we have for you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you these heartfelt journeys. I want to hear from you, so comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support and embrace the joy of connection. Don't wait not even one more second. Let us keep this community growing and inspire each other every day.